mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Technology can shape growth, help us be more agile, we can use technology to change, disrupt the landscape of the industries that we participate in. Building technology so that others can build technology and make things happen. Our success is not dependent on our products. It's dependent on the success that our customers, our partners have with our products. It's really not about our ambitions, but it's the application of our ambitions so that we can deliver digital transformation. I want you to envision what difference can you make to shape the world.
Good morning, partners. This is Sherman Crancer, Senior Partner Development Manager for Microsoft. And thanks, Jason. Welcome to the panel, Strategies from the Titans of Sales and Industry. We really appreciate you tuning in again today, and we have a fantastic show, actually. All right, so let's just go into our quick introductions today. You know who I am. You know who Jason is. Let's go ahead and go over to Bill Ray from Virtual Office Solutions. Bill, could you introduce yourself, your company, and what you do for the company?
Sure. My name is Bill Ray, and my company is Virtual Office Solutions. We've been around since 2009. Microsoft calls us a born in the cloud company. We focus on helping our customers utilize modern IT solutions. And this is my partner, John Berger.
Hello.
Has been with me since the very beginning.
Great. John?
Yes, John, do the sales side of it. We just go out and help companies modernize. It's really what our goal and objective is, and just kind of follow Bill's lead, and we're doing fun. It's been fun.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Eric.
Hey everybody, this is Eric Klaus. You know me. We've been doing this now for, gosh, about 3 months now. We've been doing these shows. So I provide the outsourced VP of Sales and Marketing Services, and happy to be here again talking to everybody. Thanks everyone.
Fantastic. And then we're going to kick it back over to Chicago real quick for Jason to just maybe talk to his partners a little bit.
Hey, thanks so much. So as you know, we're going through this transition of making it national. We've started talking to some of the other partner development managers across our team and trying to get their partners involved. Got the new structure in place, and so we're really excited about you joining today, and let us know what your feedback is. I think this is going to be a really fun ride, and we're glad to have you join us.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so for the agenda today, we're going to be talking about sales tip. We have a sales tip from Eric. We are going to go into growth, just like we normally do, simplify, optimize, repeat, profitability. We have Mike Danielson from the Small Business Development Center. We're going to talk about that. And then we are going to get into the partner back office with Thomas and Terry. So this is going to be a great day. So before we get into the tip of the week, I want to kind of just, last week we talked about the story of how we're able to leverage, a lot of different, and we leverage the 415 ticket scenario, right? So what I wanted to bring up today is a story about deciding that hey, it's time to really go for it and do it. And I think that a lot of times we come to these meetings, and I come to you, and I sit with you, and I say, gosh, hey, we should do X, Y, and Z, right? And this is going to help you out. This is what's going to make you more profitable, more successful. And then I come back 30 days later, and I find out that we really haven't made a whole lot of headway on that, because it's kind of like maybe I should do it. I don't know. I feel a little apprehensive. I have some anxiety. I don't know exactly what to do. So I want to talk a little bit about how to overcome that. So the story goes pretty simply, like, gosh, before I joined Microsoft, about a year and a half before I joined Microsoft, I had my own business, right? And I had 3 lines of business. One was carrier consulting, right? Number 2 was bringing fiber into big buildings and reselling it. Great profit margins on both. Didn't need a whole lot of people. But the third business was trying to build an IT business, right? And frankly, I had no idea. I didn't know IT. I didn't have a degree in IT. But you know what I did know? I knew margins, and I knew that this was going to be awesome. So, fast forward this into me realizing that I have no idea how I'm going to get new customers. And I tell myself, well, I don't want to go back to my current customer base because I really don't know much about IT, right? And so I got to figure, well, what do I do? Okay, so I set up my company where I started going to the the IMCP chapter meetings, and I really met a lot of really good friends and colleagues who are the current partners today, right? And then I learned about this thing called Microsoft Community Connections. And I thought, wow, this is awesome. I looked into it, and it said, hey, go out, do a seminar, and we'll give you software for you and all the things, and then you can use the software as a raffle prize. And I thought to myself, oh, this is going to be awesome. This is incredible. I'm going to do that. So I signed up. I signed all the information. They gave me some software for my first one. I sent out about 15,000 emails, right, to this place, and I get a catered. I got this in the big room over here. Spent about $200 on getting food and all that stuff, and like 3 people show up. I'm like, damn, that didn't work. Okay, so I tried it again, and once again it didn't work either. So I figured, okay, well, let me think about this. This isn't working. It's the hardest thing, demand generation, right? Bringing people in. And so I thought, okay, and I asked my friend Justin, he was the MCC rep at the time. I said, hey, do you mind if I say I'm calling on behalf of Microsoft and their Microsoft Community Connections program to give, positioning, a little bit more positioning involved, right? And he says, no, yeah, go ahead and try it. So the first thing I did is like, okay, I'm going to go talk to chambers. So I called a bunch of chambers up and said, hey, I'm calling on behalf of Microsoft, and we're talking to you about this Community Connections program where we do a series of seminars, right? And all you have to do is drive the attendees to the actual event. I'll do all the stuff for you, and by the way, it's going to be non-invasive. We're not going to be sitting there selling, things to them. It's really about education. So prior to me calling on behalf of Microsoft, I would make 50 calls to different organizations, and I got 1 return. Or I get, I get to somebody at the president level, but then they'd be like, oh no, and then a lot of times they would transfer me to the membership director. Which, if you ever heard me speak about this, the membership director for associations and chambers, it's an oxymoron. They don't care about the members. They're not a director to help members. They are there solely. Their sole purpose in life is to suck the money out of you, right? Say, oh yeah, you could join our chamber. This is awesome. Give me $400. Like, okay, well, how about if I want to speak? Oh, that's $750, but I'm only going to give you 7.5 minutes at the breakfast that nobody shows up to. And then oh, come to all of our events, and then you go to all these networking events, and everybody's got their hand out waiting for you, and then you're talking to the essential oil salesman, and you're talking to the the one-man shops. There's no money in that, right? So we basically backtrack here. We start talking to these presidents and CEOs, and they start biting into it. So I did my first event with the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce. It was unbelievable. I love these people. They're wonderful people. And instead of me sending out emails, right, they ended up doing all the demand generation, and they brought 27 people to my first event. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is the holy grail, right? I just did a 1-hour seminar. 28 people showed up. 2 people right away wanted to talk to me about doing some business, which I didn't know how to do. But I said, yes, I do. Yes, I'm an expert in that. Absolutely. And I thought, okay, great. Well, now I know the formula. And so I told myself, something, it's if you can get 23, well, I'm a sales and marketing guy. I was like, well, how if I do this? What if I do 2 seminars a week? Now I'm going to get 40 leads a week, right? And I'm going to put them into my drip marketing system. And if I'm getting 2 out of the 20 that want to talk to me, holy Moses. So make a long story short, I then, in the next 3 months, signed up 42 chambers and associations. I did over 300 events in 1 year. Okay, I was chasing my tail. I started with seminars. I realized seminars is just too much time to do, so I switched into webinars. Right. Then 3 months into my IT company, I approached the the SBA. I said, hey, let's go ahead and put together the same thing for you. So now they're sending 400 or 500 people to the webinar once a month, right? So make a long story short, where I'm coming from this is that in 1 year, we're able to bring in 3,200 leads into the system. 3,200 leads of businesses. Some huge, some small, some crazy things, but 3,200 leads came in, right? We were able to bring in $7,200 in recurring revenue, just in that short, probably only 6 months, really, because the first 6 months is just trying to get people in, right? And in 6 months, right? And then we did, I don't know, 138,000 in project revenue, like this. Did I do it? No. You know what I did? I called people like Bill. I called people like Aaron. I said, hey, I got a deal. I told them I'm the expert. I need you to come in. You got to wear the shirt, and that reduced a lot of costs. So where I'm going with this is sometimes you have to buy into what you're doing. You have to believe. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the notion that you can do things better, quicker, faster than anyone else. You have to believe that you're the best. That even if you make a mistake, it's going to be okay. Because I made a ton of mistakes. Let me tell you. Some of my first webinars were so awful. I wouldn't ever post them. They were that awful. They were so awful I wanted to delete them and burn them up. But you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Stop the madness of thinking about it, the paralysis by analysis, and just do it. And I'll leave you this one thing before we get to the tip of the week. Dreamers are the ones that talk about what they are going to do, right? Big talkers. But leaders are the ones that do what they talk about. So you need to ask yourself the question today, are you a dreamer or are you a leader? All right, I'll leave you with that. All right, so let's get into the sales tip of the week. We've got Eric Klaus going to help us out with that. Eric.
Hey everybody. Okay, so this is a little less of a sales tip, a little bit more strategic, but this was based on a conversation that Sherman and I had last night, and he asked me to share this with you all. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this without the aid of any whiteboards or props, so I'm going to ask you to visualize a little bit with me here, but imagine you've got a vertical axis and a horizontal axis here. On the vertical axis, we've got dollars and cents. We've got revenue here. On the horizontal, we got time. Here's what we see for most partners. Here's what it looks like. For most of you, what you have is recurring revenue. And it looks a lot like this. It's slightly up over time, a little bit, but not very much. And then what we see is project revenue. And we see project revenue that goes like this, right? Hopefully it's trending up over time, but we know it has a tendency to do a lot of this in it. What's the difference between those two? Recurring revenue down the bottom. Even when we come to the low end there, what is that? That's risk. That's the risk in your business. You've only got a certain amount of recurring revenue. What's the single biggest cost for most of our businesses? It's the HR side, right? That's your biggest challenge. So that's where the value is in growing out your Microsoft practice and growing out your intellectual property, and being able to have more of that recurring revenue stream, more growth in that, flattens out the difference between those peaks and valleys in there. It's lowering your risk. And that's what we got for today.
All right. Now, lowering your risk is the big thing. It is. How do we lower, business risk? And I think that's going to coincide with some of the conversation we're having today with Mike Daniels. All right, let's roll into growth. All right, welcome back. Okay, very good. So let's go well, first and foremost, I want to bring, my good friend Mike in here. Michael, can you just tell the audience who you are and what you do within the SBDC, and also maybe a little bit about your background with your business?
Yeah, absolutely, Sherman. My name is Mike Daniel. I'm the Regional Director for the Orange County Inland Empire Small Business Development Center Network. And what we do is we offer one-on-one consulting services to business owners that are looking to start, grow, expand, succeed, need financing. And the best part about what we do is there's no cost to it. It's already been paid for.
Oh, fantastic. And then how many stores do you currently have?
So I run a couple Rocky Mountain chocolate factories and a candy store that we just started, hopefully to franchise it. It's called Sugar Daddy Sweet Shop in Long Beach.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Candyman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I went to the Small Business Development Center the other day, and everyone's got the typical coffee, right? And they've got Swedish fish, gummy bears. It's like the presence of the of the candy. Very good. All right. So with that being said, let's get into growth here. And I think the very first question here, and we want to make this interactive like we did last year, right, or last week, and we really want your questions. So please put in your questions. Having these three titans of sales and industry in here really help us out. So I think the first one is, how did you do it, get to this point in your career? And I want to, give it to Bill here to start out. Help us understand, how'd you do it, man? How'd you be successful?
I started out in customer service in 1977, so I've been around for quite a while working with customers and understanding their problems and their issues. And I've been working for a consulting company for a few years, and I decided to retire. And the other partners and I decided to go on a cruise, and when we were on the cruise, I was sitting on the deck of the boat, connecting to my laptop in Irvine, and I said, this is the way business is going to be run in the future. And so within a month after I retired, I started Virtual Office Solutions. Microsoft gave me a call and said, try this new product we got called BPOS, and that's the way it all started.
And when you were designing it,
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of it came from internet and search engine optimization. Did you think that route was going to be the best route as opposed to just knocking on doors, or was it a combination? Or what was your thought when you started, your IT business?
Well, I kind of did a lot of things that you did. Started out doing, meetup events, doing IMSCP. But what I found was the best way to grow my business was to partner with other folks, not necessarily in the same industry, but like from the copier world and from the telecommunications world, because they were contacting customers all the time. They had built relationships, and they were able to offer us warm leads and to be able to build a business that way.
Fantastic. John, what would you attest to?
I just, knocking on the doors is kind of my background. And it's more of just understanding how, because at least in Orange County, we have a lot of small to medium-sized businesses that have been around for a long time, 20, 30 years. And so when you talk to these business owners and you find out what their passions are about their business, and then you take what those passions are, and through technology, we're able to help them achieve their goals. That's the fun part for me. But knocking on the doors is more of the way to visualize it, qualify it, see it, and humanize the relationship, because a lot of us tend to hide behind the emails and stuff. So that's just my personal opinion on how we do things.
That's a really that's really good insight. I've just been thinking a lot lately too about as much as it possibly can, visiting and face to face with everybody. You kind of lose it sometimes. You lose that personal touch. Mike, help us. Tell us about your story. Like, how'd you get into candy?
Yeah.
And then how'd you make that transition into the Small Business Development Center?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started working for my parents at 16 years old. They opened up a store in downtown Huntington Beach, and if anybody's ever worked for their parents, it's an interesting experience. They're probably going to watch this at some point, but I have learned just as much from them as I learned all through college and all through kind of working through this. I never thought that I would continue on, but just kept doing it. Opened a couple other stores, sold a couple stores. It's been a great experience, and what I've learned from this is, just like you were talking about earlier, you make so many mistakes, but it's getting yourself up, dusting yourself off, and saying, let's move forward. And then I transitioned into the Small Business Development Center to really, it's such an odd program. It's here, you can get advice from people for free, mostly business owners on the other side of the table helping you grow your business, helping you not make those same mistakes that I made. I mean, the first time I signed a lease, I had no idea what I was doing. But now I can sit across the table from somebody signing their first lease and say, you don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. And that's where the assistance comes in, and people going in for lending and for a loan. I mean, how many people have actually learned how to get a loan? People don't know what they're signing, and I can't tell you how many people end up with 20, 30, 40% loan when there's a 6 or 7% loan available to them. So that's where the SBDC really helps and transitions into helping businesses grow.
So yeah, you must see a lot of different businesses coming in, right? And I'm sure that there's incredible success stories, but also nightmares that you see, and then they get a chance to work that out. That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
So if we're looking like, I don't know if you guys strategize. So let me ask you. I'll put this one over to you, Michael. Provide insight into your 3 and 5 and 10 year plan. I mean, do you think that way? Do you think that way for not only your current businesses, the one that you're starting to franchise, you think, and then also the SBDC? Do you counsel on that?
Yeah, so let's start with the SBDC. Absolutely. And what we find is, let me give you a couple examples too as we're talking about this. I have a client that is currently selling industrial parts, and they're about a $5 million company, family owned. They've been operating for about 20 years, but they really don't know how to take that next step. And what they'd like to do is get to the $10 million mark. But what does that mean? And so, unfortunately what happens to a lot of business owners and a lot of small businesses is that they hear these buzzwords like, hey, I have to get onto social media, or I have to do this, but they really don't understand what it is, and they haven't really done a good job of understanding who their client is and what the needs are. So some simple things that we had done just to help them, that will probably at least grow their business by 30%, is every client that's ordering from them, rather than trying to acquire additional customers, find out what those customers need additionally, and just questions that they weren't asking. And their customers are buying 50% from them, the other 50% from these other vendors. Well, if they carried that other 50%, they'd rather order from them. There you go. They've just possibly doubled their business by just thinking strategically. And so I would say, you should always be thinking strategically. It's very easy to get stuck in the day-to-day of, oh my gosh, here's where we're at, here's where we're going. Take yourself out of that for a second and really think, where am I going to go the next year, the next 2 years, the next 3 years? I think planning for 5 and 10 years is a little difficult, because you don't know what's happening, but I think you absolutely should have a plan for the next 1, 2, and 3 years.
Okay, that's excellent. It's funny that you said that, because that is actually one of the things that we are talking to all of our partners about is, hey, stop chasing tomorrow. Take a step back. Let's strategize, but let's look at your current customer base. And you and I, Bill, we've had a long conversation about that.
Right.
Long conversation. So help me understand, your insight. Are you planning on a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year basis? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so our plan, and I say our plan because I have John as a partner and another partner. My plan the whole time since starting Virtual Office Solutions is, when am I going to retire? Because that's the end game for me, is to bring it to a point in revenue and marketability that by the time I retire, to be able to either have it valuable for the partners or that we sell the company at that point. And we look like, from your point, Sherman, we look at Office 365 as kind of like our, to say it a crude way, is kind of like our Office 365 is our gateway drug. That's what gets us into the customers. That's what gets us to build our reputation. It offers us, then from there, we look at the additional sales that we can get from there, either bringing them onto our managed services program. We do a lot of modernizing of workflows. We do SharePoint design, build mobile apps, all in the helping the customer modernize their business. Normally, the first decision a customer will make that brings them to the cloud, in our experience, has always been Office 365. And so once they get there, they feel more comfortable, and then they're able to embrace some of these other things as far as cloud computing and modernizing their IT.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good explanation. Jason, you said you had a question that is coming from the group.
Yeah, so one of the things that, these business leaders all know is how to be a buyer and how to be a seller, right? So what I would like to know, because I think Sherman and I deal with this sometimes as well, working with partners, is you have to build some rapport to really get some honest feedback and answers and discussion. So as both a buyer and a seller, what helps or hurts you building trust so you can have that open communication and interchange with whether it be your partner development manager or somebody on your team, in trying to, help get as much accurate information as you can. And any feedback you have for the group would be great.
How you building trust?
Well, I think you build trust by walking the walk. You can't convince somebody to trust you unless you prove to them that you're trustworthy, and that's one of the biggest focuses that you have to have with your employees. Don't want to ditch today's generation, but they don't necessarily have the experience that when you always want to over provide rather than under commit, and so teaching your staff that when you tell a customer something, regardless of what it is, when it is, that if you make a promise, you need to live up to it. And once you do that a couple of times, then the customer trusts you as a vendor.
Yeah, the millennials.
We're past the millennials.
How would you answer that?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think what it is delivering on your promise, but also going above and beyond. Service is so key, and you're absolutely right. You say millennials, and we all talk about the same thing. Is do they know do they understand customer service? And I think it's not thinking about the sale that you're giving out today. It's what this is going to mean over the lifetime of the transaction, and the transaction could be a 10-year commitment.
Yeah.
For us, having people come buy candy, you think of it like, oh, it's a one-time transaction, but if they have a great experience, they're going to come back. Or the best referrals are not who I go out and find, it's who they're telling, because people are going to believe what they say rather than what I say.
Yeah.
So that's what we really focus on, is making sure that they have an amazing experience as they go through it, and then knowing how to sell our product. Teaching them how to go sell it for us without really teaching them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird. It's that push and pull thing, right? You don't want to pull somebody, but sometimes I remember it was a great. Oh God, what a great, not a graphic, because he did it. He was like, showed me. He's like, Sherman, this is what you want to do. You don't shake my hand, right? He took my hand and he pulled it. Come with me, Sherman, right? And he goes and said, take my hand, turn and put your arm around my back, and say, hey, let's go this way. And just doing some small subtle things like that can change the way your relationship goes too. So Jason, what are your thoughts? Do you want to get into the next question?
Well, one of the things that came in through the Skype window is don't hate on millennials. So
don't hate on
one
millennials.
of the things that one of the things that I think is really good is to understand, and this is going to be interesting as we progress, is that we're going to be selling to and buying from millennials, and they operate and think differently, and not as a collective group, but I realize this talking to both teenagers and young adults, and then also as you're communicating with basically young staff that you're nurturing through your organization. So Bill talked about a succession plan, right? So he wants a good group of partners that can take it over and run it, and it can extend past them. So I would be, we'll go to the next question, but I'd love to hear from the group if there's anything that you specifically think are good, new, different best practices in terms of working with people who have different communication styles across generations, not just millennials, but across generations. So so we'll leave that open and out there for a second. But the next question I see is, when you were growing your business, how did you treat growth? So did you treat it as something that you had to grow quickly, it needed to be measured? How did you guys approach the growth mentality as you were getting started?
Okay.
Yeah. So the question was, how did you treat, when you were growing your business, how did you treat growth? Did you actually, well, I have Mike, can you answer that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Right. So growth is an interesting experience, and let me give you my experience of going from a single store to a second store. I'm a total type A. I have to be in control of everything, and I never learned to be a good manager and a good leader in the first store. I had to oversee everything. I wasn't actually teaching people how to do their jobs correctly. Opening up a second store that's 45 miles away from the first one makes you have to turn into a good leader, or you fail completely. So I think from that I've grown, and taught everybody how to do things, hired a manager, hired the right people, put them in place to succeed. So.
Giving up control, that can be tough for people. All right, but a person told me one time, always hire somebody smarter than you. Always do that, and you'll be much happier. Don't be afraid. Know who you are, know your strengths and weaknesses, right? But growth-wise, Bill, what do you think? Is it? Did you think like, hey, I'm going to grow as fast as I can, or John? I'll throw it even to you. What were your thoughts when you guys were growing?
Well, when we first started, my first thing was, what is our capacity? What can we handle now? Because one thing we don't want to do is go into a customer and then overpromise not be able to do it, because service is the big thing. So understand what our capacity was, and once we figured that out, then we're like, okay, what's the target market we can fit this gap?
Yep.
And from that point, then we just went out and researched those companies, went after them, and then talked to them, built relationships with them. And then as the growth started happening and started investing in our own technology platform, that learned into where now we can improve our capacity, what we can take on now. And it's kind of minimize our risk as we grew the company, and at the same time we're able to perform for our current customers, because the objective is kind of like with Michael, is we're looking long term. We want to have those relationships. We want to help them succeed, whatever their goals are. And if their passions are to hang out at the beach as much as they want, we're going to do that. I mean, that's the beauty of technology. So our success was understanding kind of where we're at, and then also what the target is to fit that gap that we're good at. And then where we're not, we partner with other people and other companies in the business.
Wonderful. That is really fantastic. All right. So, for sake of time here, I think Jason's trying to send me a message real quick. But for sake of time, look, we love the millennials. I know that maybe I'm hating on you guys a little bit, but we love you guys. Hannah, I hope you're on here. You're an amazing salesperson, executive over at Tangent, just in case that was my millennial that I was hating on. But anyways, let's get into simplify, optimize, and repeat. Roll tape. All right. Simplify, optimize, repeat is a section where we talk about how to make things better, how to make things quicker, how to optimize your operations and whatnot. So we're going to throw the first question out, and this is the curveball for you. Michael, what in your business, what do you do very well, not so well, and terrible?
Wow. The best part about this, I can answer the bottom two first, and I can't answer the first one.
Okay.
I think, leaders in business are predominantly alphas, and they're the ones that are controlling. And I think, back to the point that you were just making, it's making sure that you're putting your employees in position to succeed, making sure that you're putting your company in position to succeed. And I think that's sometimes where you have to step back and not just be the leader running the company, but also being the leader of your employees and making sure that they have everything that they need. And sometimes it's listening and not just talking all the time. So I'd say that's one thing that I think is that you have to do, and that's probably the thing that I'm still learning and figuring out. Mm-hmm. Is, I think it's just a difficult thing. And, for me, it's I'm trying to get better at just, giving people tasks, letting them go do it, letting them own it, and knowing that they're going to succeed. And what you're giving is the will for them to see success and getting them excited about moving on to the next step.
That's amazing. That's really, really, really good insight. Thank you. Bill.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you do, very well, amazing. What do you do, okay, not so well? And then what's a terrible thing that you want to absolutely work on?
Well, I'd like to change the language a little bit, because I think we do, I think our organization is geared to customer service. And I think we do a really good job of listening to the customer and providing for the customer. We could do a better job, I think, as far as marketing, okay, to bring in more, more prospects. We do very similar to what you talked about earlier. We build our list and then build the drip campaign from the list and then constantly market it from there. Where I drive my focus for my organization is to continue to drive them to grow. In my experience, it seems like when technicians get comfortable or people in organizations get comfortable, they stop learning. And it's always a struggle to keep people, do your 8-hour job and also continue your learning path. Because, if you were still only an exchange technician from 10 years ago, you're almost out of a job now with Office 365. You have to stay up with the current technology.
John?
Yeah, no, I agree with Bill. I mean, it's the marketing side, something we talk about when we do our quarterly plans, is what we can do next and how we can approach it. And but we are building that trip campaign. But I agree with Bill. I mean, the thing that he teaches all of us is empower the business as our own, and it's the learning. And no, he's spot on. Yeah.
I saw this thing, and I live by it. Bill Gates lives by it, Warren Buffett, a couple of big leaders, Elon Musk, I do believe. 5 hours a week, 1 hour a day. They just learn something new about something else outside of their industry. Sometimes within their industry, but they want to learn something new, so they spend 1 hour a day. And I've lived by that, for the last 2 years. You can only get better by, investing your time and investing, yourself into these types of things. So I think that's really good. This is a question I think from last week, and I like to ask. I mean, John, I want to hear your side of this. What could Microsoft do to make your life easier? And if maybe if we're doing them now, do our partners actually know that?
Well, from my personal standpoint, so I kind of define myself, I'm the concept guy. So I'm not a detail guy. So that's more of a question for Bill, since he works with the details of Microsoft. I'm just more of the concept guy. So from my standpoint, I love it. So I guess the wrong guy to ask that question, because I don't get into the details as much.
Okay, Bill, let me ask you that then.
Well, in my experience, I spent a lot of my career working with different Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies. And one of the things that I was very pleasantly surprised with when I started working with Microsoft is how they do business with their partners. I think Microsoft invests a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy to build the partner infrastructure. If, as usual, I guess the only thing I would say could do better, more leads, but that's, you're always going to hear that from me, right?
More leads. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the other thing was, you and I talked about it, is how do you cross-sell, upsell with your current customer base, right? And I think, and we'll talk about that in a second, about how you approach that and some of the successes. But all right, let's, and we really want the audience, to participate in this. If you have some thoughts that you need us to bubble up, please put them in there. Jason, why don't you go ahead and handle the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually one I posed to the audience separately, because this is a discussion that I'm having with a lot of my partners now. And it was sort of to what Bill said. If you're working on older technology, or that's your core, you're not learning, you're not growing. One of the things I think that's critical is that technical folks understand the business application solution to the problem that they're trying to solve with the technology, right? So how have you tried to up the ante on your technical folks and helping them learn the business problems, the ways your customers are looking at the solutions? How have you helped them for their future career growth, given that some things may be automated and technology may be changing going forward? And this is to either one, Bill and team, or someone out in the audience.
Yeah, so we basically deploy the carrot and the stick. I mean, that's constantly showing the technicians the benefits of growing in technology, the benefits of being ahead of the curve. But also, if you're not going to learn, you're not going to be with us very long. And because in order for us to stay competitive, we need to stay with the technology curve.
I think that's spot on, and I love your style. I mean, it's like, hey, we're going to show you, we're going to help you. However, if you can't commit to evolving, we can't commit to you.
Right.
So that's good. So, and then Jason, I think you're going to get into the next question, right?
Yep. So, what are the biggest challenges in simplifying and improving how you do business today? I mean, because sometimes it's just being busy doing business, but what do you think the biggest challenges are?
Mike?
Yeah, this is often a difficult question, because I think when people are at that growth stage, they really think about expanding service, expanding your business. And I think what's most imperative, at least what I found, especially through the Small Business Development Center, is that we could do 500 things and we can help you do all these things, but what we're really good at are 4 or 5 things. And so we really have focused on just getting back to those 4 or 5 things, doing them amazingly well, and letting that grow our business.
That's fantastic. Bill, what would you say?
Well, I think trying to be jack of all trades or master of none, as they say. I have a sign at each one of my workplaces. I work from home and I work from my office, and I have a sign up in front of me that says, "Who else can do it?" Because you can get so involved in the day-to-day aspects of running the business that you forget about the planning and the growing and what you need to do to actually build the business. And so to try to identify people within your organization with the right skills to be able to take those things off your plate.
That's very insightful. Like I love that. I love when you and I talk. I actually learned a lot. So, let me ask you. Let's think about some stories. I'm sure you have, Mike, a couple stories of success, right? Would you be interested in maybe sharing one
Sure,
of those?
absolutely.
Yeah, I think just to kind of frame what we're really talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. One comes to mind as we're thinking or talking about some of this stuff is I was helping a small manufacturer of, they did dance team manufacturing, so dance wear for girls in high school, college, that kind of stuff. And they were really looking to grow. They were about a $2 million company. They were looking to grow to 5 or 6 and then exit. They really wanted to get out of the business. And so for them, they wanted to focus and spend a whole bunch of money on growing their Facebook page. And not organically, they just wanted to they're going to spend $200,000 so they get a million people on their Facebook page and be friends, and then they thought that would lead to more success. And rather than doing that, what we tried to help them do is to grow that organically. That led to additional sales, that led to additional growth for them just by being out in the marketplace and people understanding who they were. So I think it's strategically thinking about, what do you really want to do and what are you doing with this? And so many people are so quick to just throw money at things.
Yeah.
But think through, what are you really trying to grow? If you're trying to grow a new product, is that really a product that you should be serving, and is that a product that you should have? I have a client right now that is purchasing. They're engineers by trade, and they do private engineering for larger companies, and they're looking to buy a vendor of theirs. And so to go backwards and kind of buy into the entire process is an interesting concept, and they're not really good at it, but they're at that stage, and so making sure that this really fits their business, because that will take their other business down.
Yeah.
So, making sure that this all makes sense and that they can do both.
That's awesome. You guys, have any stories?
Yeah, I think John can probably share a good story that we've been talking about recently.
Yeah, actually, one of our great stories is a nonprofit, and they've got about 200 users, and they're out in the field, and they help people, especially ladies, gain independence. And so when we first met with the executive director, we asked her the one question was, what is your ultimate goal with this? She's had it for 30 years. Going forward, what's your ultimate goal? And her answer was, I want more time with my clients. And so, okay, well, let's figure out how we can do that. Well, at the time, about 7 years ago, she had paper-based everywhere, full file folders. I mean, it was just, talk about compliancies and things. Flash forward to today, almost completely paperless. Office 365, we got a custom app for them to where their people are doing their stuff on their iPads, going in through SharePoint. It's made the billing cycle so much better for the CFO to where her life is easier. So now they have a better quality of life. They're more actually, they're running better. They can hire more employees. But the ultimate goal that she had was more time with her clients. And doing that for our customers, that's what we bring to the tables. We talk to the business owners. We say, what is your passion? What is it you want to do? And then let's improve the quality of life, not just for you, but for your employees, because that brings the morale up in technology. That's what gets me excited. That's what makes it fun. And that's one of our best success stories. I mean, now she's a case study for the regional center in the state of California. And and at the time, she was hesitant. She's been doing it her way for 30 years. And then now, as we've now she's like, oh, is it in SharePoint? It's like, it's just funny to hear this stuff. But it took a lot of learning. But the ultimate goal is that is what we're passionate about. And we're looking long term with our customers. And that's one of the best success stories, because when you see them light up and all the employees light up, and we're the guys behind. We're kind of the ghosts behind the scene, but we're okay with that. It's just good to help people do that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
love
great
that.
story.
You're helping them strategically plan.
Exactly.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
You're planning for them.
Yeah.
which is
Every
awesome.
question
Yeah.
we ask is always, what is your goals 2 to 3 years out, and what are your motivations? So you're positioning to sell, you're going to find more lines of business, whatever it might be. So we're prepared from a technology standpoint, because the worst part is being reactive, and they're like, oh, we don't have the budgets for it. So if we can be proactive and help them gain those plans, then it's a better business. It just makes business a lot smoother. We keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
That's
Just
amazing.
keep it simple. Yeah.
You know, the next question, and I'm going to throw this over to Jason. If you could, if Steve, you can put him on the camera here. You know, you and I have talked about this, Jason, and just recently came up with a process. So, what process do you think that you're most proud of, and how does that relate to this call? There's a softball.
Oh my goodness.
Here you go.
What process am I most proud of?
Well-
You know, I would say the process of giving up control, like that one of the conversations that's gone on back and forth on the conversation feed on Skype has been, is it better to delegate than automate, right? And we talk a lot about automation and what we can do with tools, but I really liked what Bill had to say, because whether it's at home or whether it's at work, and especially being new to Microsoft, is figuring out what can I ask someone else to do that they can do that takes away from the things only I can do, right? So one of the things I try to look at is, you know, and we've done this with the panel, we've done this with just Thomas and I working with our partners, is where do we share and where are only the things that I can do? So I have to do those for various reasons. He's best at doing other things, and how do we share those? So I think it's really trying to look at where can I delegate, but then where do I know, okay, these are the most important things that have to get done now. So it's almost like a prioritization, but you know, having a team that you can share the burden with, I would say is the best process overall that I'm using right now.
Okay, awesome. I would say that our collaboration, you know, with Thomas and Terry, yourself, myself, and Tim and Jeff, on our combined email, I think is a process that I'm actually pretty proud of. We've gone over the last 2 weeks trying to figure out how to do this. You know, we want to reduce the number of emails that you're getting. We want to reduce the number of just stuff you have to look at. So that's why I think that it's great that we have the process now. It's one email that's a collaboration. We're all coming together to put our part on it. We send it out to you, and then if you want to see the full, you get just very quick blurbs, so it's easy to read. And if you want to do more, you click on it and you go to a point drive. I think that's a good way of thinking about simplify, optimize, and repeat. You know, how do we do that more efficiently? So, Mike, let me ask you this: what would you say is a process that you're most proud of, or maybe something that you even teach people that's a great process that should be implemented? You know.
Yeah, you know, we've really kind of changed around a lot of our processes of how we work within the SBDC and work with clients, making sure that you know, we're all uniformly doing the same thing. You know, helping a client, you know, making sure the intake process is the same, making sure people understand how we do it. And as we go through the process, I think the big key of having a process is how do you measure that process? Yeah. You know, and you know, as we're opening, you know, we opened up a candy store on purpose to open up several more, and then to build a brand is creating that process from the beginning, and then making sure that it all fits. I mean, this is really a concept store, you know, for the future, you know, and so making sure that all the processes are in place, you know, so I mean, process from, you know, who do we order our signs from, who do we order our bags from, all the way to where's our candy come in, how do we check it? So, I mean, I know candy hopefully relates to this, but but a process is a process.
A process is a process.
Yes.
And if you don't have a process, you know,
absolutely,
you're out of business. I think, you know, or you're that company that had paper everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
File
So
cabinets.
let's go ahead and roll into profitability, because for sake of time, there's one question in profitability I really want to talk about. So let's go ahead and roll tape on profitability. All right, welcome back. This is profitability section. This is where we kind of talk about, you know, some items that relate to your business and how profitable you are, how much margin you're making. All right, so the one question that I have here is, what is your marketing spend? And, you know, how is that in relation to your overall revenue? Now, Bill, I'm going to ask you that first.
Well, that's always a very fluctuating number because you're not going to do the same thing all the time. You're going to take sometimes during the year where you're going to invest a little bit more in outreach, and then other times of the year you're going to just basically invest more in harvesting. But overall, we're looking about a 7 to 10% marketing investment month over month.
Okay.
Our website, our nurturing plans, our ebooks, all that stuff.
That's fantastic. That's better than the average of Microsoft partners, which is 1.2% or 1 to 2%.
Yeah.
The most profitable partners are 12 to 14%. Mike, when you're counseling your members who come into the SBDCs, and they ask about, well, how much should I spend on marketing? What do you tell them?
Yeah, and that's a great question because it happens all the time. First thing we want to define is what does the average customer bring you? So does the average customer, if I'm in sales, does the average customer bring me $1,000 per transaction? Is that transaction usually over a year, over a 5-year period? Is it instantaneous? And then from that, how much does it cost me to go acquire more that look like that client that I want or that customer that I want? So it's really defining those pieces out. And just like you were talking about, there's no set amount to say, it's 5%, it's 10%. It's really saying, all right, well, if the average customer brings me in $1,000 and I have 500 of those clients, how do I measure what those clients are and what they look like, and then go out and go find more that are just like that? So for me, it would be, I definitely think you want to be in the ballpark of around 5%, spending on your marketing. But at the same time, you have to be well positioned and understand what you're marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Total addressable market,
Yeah.
your TAM. Do you even know what that is? And you should before you even start marketing, because you got to figure out who you're marketing to, why you're marketing to,
Right.
demographics. I think that's why some social media outlets that sell that you can buy advertising on are better than others, because you can actually really pick down to the demographic and this very specific target that you want. So it's very good. All right, let's see. Let's go into the SBDC then. And I think these are some great things. And the reason why we're getting into the SBDC is a lot of our partners don't know what it is, why it's so great, and my gosh, the services that you can get by working with the Small Business Development Center. So the first question, really, Mike, is if you're a brand new business, what are the first things that you would do, and how, and then maybe what are something a mature business would do, or a reason why they come in?
Yeah, so first reason is, oh my gosh, I'm in business, what the heck do I do now? Or, maybe give you an example. I just counseled somebody yesterday, is I just signed this lease and now I need to start this restaurant. And it's usually backwards, and there is no A to Z guide of how to run a business. And I think that's what we find all the time and from everybody, is that you could have the exact same business and have 10 people in here all doing the same thing. Everybody's doing their business differently. Everybody started their business differently. It's just that is the nature of it. And I think the best resource that we provide is the fact that, for the most part, most of us have done this, and we're telling you, here's all the things that you should be looking at. Here's how you can do this. To get in back to the restaurant owner, it's like, well, I signed the lease. Now what? It's like, all right, well, now we need to figure out space plan, architect, how to get to the city, licensing, and we have 2 people that own several restaurants that are helping them. That's the resource that they get, and they don't have to pay anything for it. It's just like you're going out paying somebody $200 or $300 an hour to consult you, but we're giving you brutally honest advice because we're not being paid by you. We want to help you, and that's really where it sits with the SBDC.
That's great. The next one was success stories, but I think we kind of already talked about that. So help us understand what you do that's so great, because it's an amazing place, and we'll maybe even give us some not demographics, but how many are there, and kind of give us that, because I want the partners to be able to look at this in a way that, hey, maybe we can contact those local leaders.
Absolutely.
And let's do some projects with them, that kind of a thing.
Absolutely. So there are 62 networks across the United States. We are a federally funded program, so the SBA funds a partial amount of our funding in the state of California. We're in Orange County, Inland Empire, so Cal State Fullerton. We have 7 other centers spread throughout Orange County, Inland Empire. When the best way to get, we see just in our network alone, Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside County, we see about 10,000 clients a year. I would say 50% of those clients are not in business yet. The other 50 are. The best way to get in touch with us is just to call us. But what we provide, we have about 65 consultants in our network. Most of us are current business owners. There are a few that are not, and we vary in our skill sets. I mean, I have somebody that is an expert in leases, worked for Simon Malls for 25 years. I have somebody that owned an AIM Mail. He was the franchisor. Had 200 units underneath him. It's just a vast range of skill set, and we try to pair you up with the right person. But what we could provide for Microsoft is, here are the clients that you're trying to reach. We track everything we do. So if you're looking for veterans, you're looking for a minority group, we can get you exactly what you need. And all we want to do is to be able to provide our clients the resources that you have available to you.
That's great. So does somebody pay you money? If Bill says, gosh, I want to get that list because I'm tired of formulating it myself and spending all these hours, he comes to you, do they have to pay you?
So they don't pay for us, and now we wouldn't probably just give you a list of clients and here you go. What we would do is we would probably incorporate that list into other things that we're doing and saying, here's some things that we can provide. But the best way to really address an audience like this is to do a webinar, to come out and do a live seminar, to where you become the expert in front of our clients. And now they know how to talk to you. And now we don't even have to say anything. Once you're in front of an audience and you're giving them what they need, you become that expert.
So Mike's been gracious enough to kind of open up his facility to our partners, to the managed partners that are part of our group, that if we want to start putting together some seminars throughout the year, we can do that. So if you're in Southern California, great. Now, if you're in Northern California, that's where other half of our partners are, I'm sure we can get introductions to those right people. You can introduce them to me, and then I can probably help out the partners.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. I heard that the SBDC is a loan arm of the SBA. Do you provide other services?
Yeah, so we get that question often. And interestingly enough, the SBA gets that question often. We are not a funder, and neither is the SBA a direct funder. What we do is we package loans for people, and then we try to introduce them to the right loan. And let me give you a quick example of a story. And this happens to everybody. I have a construction company, mom and pop. They do about $2 million a year in sales. They went to their bank and they said, we need a $250,000 loan. Well, they said, that's great, but we don't have anything for you. And they were declined. And so they immediately went online, got a predatory loan at 40%, and they got a $70,000 loan because they needed it right now. And they were paying about $3,500 a month for that $70,000.
Oh my God!
Within a month after, they called us, they got our number. We went over there, we repackaged their loan. We got them that $250,000 that they really needed, and they were paying 7% for it. So the problem is that people don't know where to go. Everybody knows Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Union. They're all great banks, but if those don't work for you, there are hundreds of other lenders that are all reputable, that are all either SBA backed or community backed that we can find for you. And I guess the easiest way to say what we do is we package it and then we introduce you to the right lender. So almost think of it as a broker without charging any fees, just getting you to the right place.
That in itself is amazing because you have this ability to get somebody who has no vested interest in what you're doing, but then will help you. I mean, how many small business owners have no idea, right?
Everybody.
Everybody. Actually, everybody.
Yes.
You're telling me. I mean, there's some other story about some doctors and some lawyers and different people that were. And I was just like, I was in awe. I was thinking to myself, wow. Man, I wish I would have known them when I was signing my lease when I had my business. Bad, net, all the things, right? The tenant improvements, and you have no idea. So, really, if you need any business advice, a great place to start is your local SBDC, unless you have, people in your life that are venture capitalists and do business consulting for a living. But I really think that's really neat. Now, starting a business too, there's things like Dun & Bradstreet and all those different things a lot of people don't know.
Right.
You help businesses with that kind of stuff, like getting all those ducks in a row, making sure their business, the foundation is set, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why it was such a great relationship with Mike and I. We're thinking, hey, let's start doing the technology because we know that the digital transformation is happening. This is the fourth industrial revolution that we're having as a country, and we need to figure out how to, help educate our members. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up today. We're going to try to land the plane exactly on time. And for my name is Sherman Crancer. I want to say thank you so much. I want to give it over to Jason.
Thanks everyone for being here today. Really appreciate it.
All right. Any last thoughts from the group? I just wanted to give you a last thing. We're going to have we'll send out the contact information for everybody here. But Mike?
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. And if there's anything that we could do to help you, just give me a call.
Fantastic. And Bill, thanks so much for coming in. And John, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a really great insight. Thank you. Anything last comments you want to make?
I'll echo what Mike said. Thank you very much. Enjoy the opportunity.
Awesome.
I love hearing from Microsoft.
Time to go get some waves.
All right. Sounds great. All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming in. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey there, my name is Sherman Crancer, and I'm the Senior Partner Channel Development Manager here at Microsoft and the host of The Panel, Strategies from the Titans of Sales and Industry. If you're interested in understanding how you can build large margins through packages, if you're interested in how to create differentiation within the marketplace, or simply you want to understand the latest cutting-edge sales and marketing techniques, make sure you join us each week on Fridays from 9 to 10 a.m. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.